Hi there. Happy Good Friday. Good Friday, as we thought about in our first video, is a bit of an odd name, isn't it? I mean, it's a day where Christians celebrate the death of their founder, Jesus. What's going on there? To help us think about that today, we're going to look at a character in the Bible story called Barabbas. See, up to this point, Jesus has just been arrested, put on trial before the religious establishment, convicted by them, and brought to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Pilate can't think of anything to convict Jesus of, but he wants to make the religious authorities happy, and so is willing to condemn Jesus, but there's a chance that he might be able to get Jesus scot-free. You see, he's allowed to release one prisoner. He has a choice. Will he release Jesus Christ, the teacher who's been travelling around for 3 years, speaking words of hope and life and healing and just generally being amazing? Or will he release the man known as Barabbas? Barabbas was a convicted religious terrorist, guilty the deaths of at least several people. Which one is Pilate going to release? It's either Jesus or Barabbas. One of them's going to the cross. All four accounts of Jesus' life in the Bible have this story included in them. And in all of these accounts, it is Jesus Christ, the innocent man, not Barabbas, the guilty man, who goes to the cross. See, that's what happens at Easter. Jesus goes to the cross in the place of people who deserve it. Now, I'm sure many of us watching this haven't got criminal convictions hanging over our heads. We might be thinking, okay, that's a great story, but what does that mean for us? Let me read you the words that Jesus spoke when he was on the cross. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? The land goes dark. In the Bible, whenever God acts in judgment, darkness is a picture of that. Jesus cries out that he's been forsaken. On the cross, Jesus is taking the full punishment, not just of criminal convictions, but of sin. We thought yesterday, didn't we, that God knows everything about our hearts. Easter is for failures. But as God knows everything about our hearts and he sees it all, he sees how we have treated him, despite the fact that everything we enjoy is made by him and given to us by him. Well, God is rightly angry at that. In a way, all of us stand as a Barabbas before God. Maybe our sins, as the Bible puts it, aren't as big and flashy, but none of us have loved God as much as he deserves. Which brings us back to the question, why is Good Friday called good? Well, it's because wonderfully, Jesus is willing to take the judgment for sin in our place. Jesus is willing to take it all. He's willing to be the best substitute. And he's willing to give us not just like a neutral life with our sin paid off, but instead to give us his perfect life. So that when we stand before God who made us, God looks at us clothed in Jesus' perfect life and says, it is just as if you had always loved me. The reason why Christians celebrate Easter is not because Christians are better than anyone else. It is that they have the joy of knowing that Jesus has been their substitute. And so they walk around not with guilt, shame or condemnation hanging over their heads, not worrying what God thinks about them, but instead walking free, knowing that they are perfectly loved by God and enjoying living for him in response. Good Friday is called good because on it, Jesus died in the place of anyone who would trust in him, who would just say, Jesus, please could I get in on this? That they might share in his perfect life. Happy Easter.